Welcome to the next installment of me talking about myself, because I don't have good internet or service or anything like that. Anyway, so everything I'm going to say in this video is alleged because legal reasons. So yeah, if you guys don't know me, I'm Pie Guy, and this summer I'm making a bunch of videos about myself because I can't really edit together huge projects. In this video, I'm going to be telling you guys a little bit about my work history, specifically at McDonald's. I'm going to say it a little bit different so they can't sue me. I don't think that's how it works. Either way, I worked at McDonald's for about a year, a little over a year. This is a couple years ago. It was actually the worst experience of my entire life. It was actually so terrible. So here are genuinely my horror stories from working at McDonald's. And by the way, I just thought this would be funny and interesting to go over. The last video I did was talking about my personal encounter with God, which is way more deep video than this one. This is more so just me talking about the goofy, crazy things that happened at my previous job and why you should or should not work there. Or should not. Anyway, okay, I'm getting off topic. So I worked at McDonald's for like a year. And this is when I was like 16, I think. Because my mom wanted me to get a job, and she parked in the McDonald's parking lot and didn't leave until I went in to apply. And when I went in to apply, they were like, hey, you're hired. Because they just hire anyone, which we'll get to. But I did not want to work there whatsoever. Either way, I start up, and one of the first days that I start, and keep in mind, the work conditions at McDonald's already, at least my personal McDonald's, were not good. They didn't give you any, protection for your arms or your hands when you were using the grill, but it's one of those giant things that, goes down over top of the patties and comes back up. It drips hot grease, and you're rushed to go get it. I'd come home with, burn marks on my hands, my arms every day. They rush you around. It stresses you out so bad. I don't normally get stressed out by things most of the time. This stresses you out working at McDonald's. It's just so fast-paced and ridiculous, and things that aren't your fault are all of a sudden now your fault. It's goofy. But I'm going to more so focus on the interactions I had with people there. So, the first one being, there was this lady, I'm not going to say anyone's name, but there was this lady who, she came to me in the break room. She was like this older woman. She came to me in the break room, and she goes, hey, do you want to see my hand? And I was like, there's a big truck. I was like, why? And she goes, just do you want to see it? Because it had a glove on. I was like, okay. And then she takes her glove off, and she shows me this giant wart on her hand, and she goes, look, I have this giant wart on my hand. And I didn't know what to do, because this woman was 70 years old, so I was kind of standing there awkwardly. And she goes, yeah, that's why I have to wear the glove. I don't want to get my wart all over the food. And I went, okay. I didn't know how to respond to that. That was one of the first days that I worked there ever. So, after that, enter one of my friends. Again, I'm not going to say his name. I'm not going to say anybody's name. But one of my friends who worked there, he would work mornings, and I would work afternoons. And the one day I came in before his shift was over, and I was just kind of waiting until my time slot was starting. And he goes, oh, do you want anything for breakfast? And I was like, I'm good. And he's like, all right, I always cook myself a bagel in the morning. And he got a bagel, he put it in the machine. The machine is it's like this toaster oven type thing, but it's a conveyor belt. So you put it in, then it goes in, and then it drops down and falls out. And I don't know why there's so many big trucks. Anyway, it cooks it for a very specific amount of time. And he did that. But halfway through, he stopped the machine. He stopped the conveyor belt part. So it was just heating it. And I was like, what you doing? He goes, well, I like to cook it a little bit more than the machine cooks it. So I'm going to keep it in a little extra time. And I was like, whatever. So he's talking to me, blah, 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 blah. He's talking for a while. And then all of a sudden, flames shoot out of the machine. Flames shoot out of the toaster oven conveyor belt machine. And I was dumbfounded. I was like, dude, what are you, get your bagel out of there. And so he's like, oh shoot, he doesn't turn the machine off with the machine on, he reaches into it with his bare hands and pulls out the bagel, which is completely on fire. He throws it to the ground. Then he starts stomping on it. He throws it to the ground. He starts stomping on this bagel. It's literally engulfed in flames. And somehow he puts it out. Then the entire kitchen was like silent. They were just looking at him. Then he picks up the bagel and he eats it. And he goes, "That's a good bagel." I was like, that's a true story that happened at McDonald's. And like, some of these instances are like funny and goofy and all that. But for the most part, it was like very hectic. For instance, the one time we had this manager, and he was like my boss's boss. He was like manager of managers, from what I remember. And I was doing the dishes the one day, and the dishes were piled up to the ceiling. I don't think people realize how many dishes there are to do at McDonald's or just other fast food places for that matter. There are so many. There are too many. Because, I guess just take my word for it. In fact, there were so many that I asked my buddy who worked at McDonald's with me, I asked him to take a picture of it with his phone. I didn't have a phone at that time. So I asked him to take a picture of it for me so I could show it to people. So he took a picture, put his phone back in the break room, and then a little bit later, the one manager comes over, and he's like, "Hey, you gotta wash these too." I was like, "All right, set them on the floor. There's no room on the countertop at all." He goes, "No, I'll just put them on top." I was like, "Dude, that's not a good idea." I was like, "Don't do that." And he was like, "Dude, it's fine." He puts them on top of all the other stuff, and then right when he does that, it crashes. The whole giant thing piled up to the ceiling crashes, all the dishes, and it falls on a pipe, and it bursts the pipe, and the entire kitchen flooded. Then that manager had the audacity to go to his boss. So my boss's boss, or some goofy thing like that, to his boss, and say that I flooded the kitchen because I was being incompetent while doing the dishes. And the boss, like the main top manager, was like, "Ryan, is this true?" And I was like, "No, I told him to put the dishes on the floor, and he didn't put the dishes on the floor, and then he flooded the kitchen because they all fell over because he didn't follow what I said of putting the dishes on the floor." And that manager was like, "Well, that would only even happen if the dishes were piled up to the ceiling," which I don't think they were. And I was like, "They were." And he said, "I don't think so. I've never seen them piled up that high." Luckily, by sheer coincidence, I had the picture from the break room on my buddy's phone of how tall the dishes were piled up. So I showed that manager that picture that I just happened to take that day. And then the other manager had to admit that he was lying because he was worried he would get fired, and he'd rather me get fired than him. And he was like my manager. So like, that's crazy. That's crazy. The incompetence of a lot of the people that I had some good managers, don't get me wrong. I had some good managers who were competent, who knew what they were doing, who also were like nice and sociable. But like, the amount of people who didn't know what they were doing just baffles me. Like, the one time, one of my other friends from school, he got hired at McDonald's. It was his first day. It was my job to show him around. I was showing him all around, everything, everywhere, where everything goes, all the different trash can locations and parking lot, all that. Finally, he's about to start. And the main manager, the one on top of everything, he goes, "Cool. All we need is your work permit and you're good to go." This guy goes, "Oh, sorry, I don't have a work permit." And the manager's like, "What are you talking about?" And again, my friend, he's like, "Yeah, I don't have one." Manager's like, "Oh, well, will you be able to get it to me in the next couple days if it's at your house?" And the guy was like, "No, seriously, I don't have a work permit. I don't own a work permit." My question is, how did he get hired if he doesn't have a work permit? I don't understand how. Not only did he get hired, he went through the entire orientation, he went through the whole training, he went through all that. It was his first day on the job, and they never once checked to see if he had a work permit. Like, it blows my mind. It absolutely baffles me. Now, I'm not going to sit here and act like I was the perfect employee, because even though I will say I was the favorite employee, I think they liked me a lot because I just did anything they asked me to do. Like, if a trash can ripped, they would ask me to dig through the trash. They wouldn't give me gloves. I had to dig through the trash with my bare hands and pick everything out. And I did it. I would clean the toilets. I would do whatever needed to be done. But I wasn't the perfect employee. Because my one buddy, the same one with the phone, who I took the picture, like all the dishes, that whole thing. He was my buddy. We started sitting together at school at lunch after we met at McDonald's. And I like to pull little practical jokes on him. Little goofy pranks. For instance, he'd go in the freezer to get something, and then I'd block the freezer with trash cans or like wedge something in the door so he couldn't get out. which which is alleged. Which there's no proof that that was a big truck. There is no proof that I did that aside from me saying that right now, but I'm not a credible source because this is alleged. Allegedly, I would block the freezer with a bunch of trash cans and wedge something in the door so he couldn't get out. Allegedly. Or like I would take pictures of him and with my iPad mini just at school. Then I would enlarge them and stretch them out so his face would be really wide. And then I'd put a picture of him up in the break room, or I'd have like multiple pieces of paper to form one picture of him in the break room. And that was funny. I think that was funny. Not just to him. I would do other things. Like, I liked to make fake promotional pictures of sandwiches that didn't exist and put them places. Like, I had this one. It was like the Ultra Mega Mac Deluxe. And it was like every burger on the McDonald's menu photoshopped into one big burger. There's one that said introducing the new Little Mac, and it was like the fighter from Super Smash Bros. And I think the Little Mac actually did exist at some point. Either way, I was not the perfect employee, but I got my job done. I worked hard, and it sucked. I'm going to be real. It was not good. But at the same time, I was the best one there, because I try to, I think I was the best one there. Because I really just try to do everything to the best of my ability with a smile on my face, just getting through it, because at the end of the day, no matter how much I hated it, that was a very important part of my life. My first big job, I had it for like a year. But it was pretty terrible, to the point where I literally had to quit my job because I was having nightmares. This is going to sound so stupid right now. This is going to sound so goofy and ridiculous and haha funny, but this was genuinely maybe one of the worst eras of my life. I haven't gotten to the worst era of my life yet. That'll be a different video for a different day. But it got to the point where I started having nightmares about McDonald's. Like, in one of them, I would show up to work, and everyone would just not talk to me and treat me like garbage, which, like, people didn't... Dude, what is it with the trucks today? People did not treat me like garbage for the most part while I was there, but, like, I don't think I was treated great, but in these dreams, I was just treated like absolute trash. The worst one was I had this dream where I was in the car, and as I was driving along, every building slowly started morphing into a McDonald's. And then I finally arrived at my house, and my house was just another McDonald's. And I lived in McDonald's. It sounds goofy and stupid. It was actually terrifying. Like, it was actually the most terrifying dream experience ever. And, there are more stories I could pull, but I think you guys get the gist. Working at McDonald's ruined working at fast food for me. It didn't ruin fast food for me in total. It is pink slime meat, but I enjoy it. I eat it, not super often anymore because I'm trying to be a little more healthy. But, like, what you hear about the pink slime meat, it's true. Like, take it from someone who worked there, it's true. And, I mean, at the end of the day, it was a good experience for, like, my overall life. But I would not recommend that to anybody, not my worst enemy. Maybe my worst enemy. I might recommend it to my worst enemy, but no one else. But at the end of the day, I made some money. Less than I think I should have made. I'm going to keep complaining about it until this video ends, so I'm just going to end it there. Thank you guys for watching. I know this, again, isn't what I normally do. I normally do big, crazy, awesome things like my Indiana Jones project. I'm trying to promo here. My Indiana Jones project. Sorry, that truck was in my way. Which is going to be released September 1st of this year. So check that out when it comes out. I'm going to be dropping a thumbnail for it soon, I think. Because I want you guys to see. And yeah, when that comes out, check it out. I do normally big crazy pranks and challenges and stuff like that. But while I'm super busy this summer working at a summer camp, this is what you get. It's this or nothing. So I hope you guys enjoyed. And I'll see you guys next week with some other video. And again, stay tuned for the Indiana Jones thing, September 1st. It's the best, biggest project I've ever worked on. So that's all. And thank you guys for watching. And peace out, Epic Gamers. And please subscribe because it really helps me out. And that's all. Bye.